I'll give you another minute. Green alligator, okay. Wet. Reverence. Seasickness, yes. Sailors have to deal with that for sure. And go on, a few more please. Boris Herman. Nice. Love. All right, I'll give you 10 more seconds. So crunch time. Type your word. Yes. SOS. Hopefully not. Fish. Okay, 5 seconds. All right. Okay, so life. Life is definitely a big link to the ocean because it's Mother Nature and our planet is covered by the oceans, over 73%. So I always wonder why we say planet Earth, supposed to call planet Ocean, right? Great, so for this thank you for this little warm-up, and now I'm going back to our team. This is our team. You see Boris here in the front with his little kid, and to the right, Birte, his wife, our ocean educator. We are an international team, 13 different nationalities, different backgrounds, biographies, different expertise, but we have one vision. We have one vision in mind, which is basically the bonding effect between all of us. It's the love to the ocean, it's the love to the big blue out there, and this is why this team is kind of a family. We're not just colleagues, we're really like brothers and sisters, and this is also how we work together. But we have this climate mission that drives us forward, so the mindset is clear, but we also want to put that mindset, the love to the ocean and to Mother Nature, into practice, into action. So our climate and ocean campaign that we run is called A Race You Must Win Climate Action Now. You see here a little bit below the logo. And I will come to that in a second, but first I would like to give Boris the word, who puts that very condensed in a little video.
My name is Boris Herman. This is my job and my passion, but of course I depend on the ocean. As my workplace and to do my fascinating sport that I love, I need them to be preserved. And the biggest threats for the wildlife and biodiversity on the oceans and in the oceans is climate change. The oceans get warmer due to the man-made global warming. They absorb 93% of the excess heat, profoundly changing biology, chemistry in the oceans and being a huge threat to biodiversity. Against time, and we shouldn't forget over all the science and debates and discussions that we know clearly what to do. This is the decade where we have to turn around. We need to cut emissions fast. To tackle climate change is, of course, one of the biggest challenges for humanity at the moment, but it's also a challenge for the best ideas and for the fastest pace, because it's a race against time and it's a race we must win.
Good to be back in nature. Let's see what's the next challenge.
Thank you, Boris. It's a race against time, it's a race we must win. And this is why we have this colorful boat, because it's a symbol of the 17 goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And 2 of them are for us the bottleneck goals, the most important ones, because without these goals, because if we don't reach these goals, we will have a planetary disaster. And it's definitely climate change in connection with number 14, which is the life below water. So, and you see our nice boat, and it's a fantastic feeling to be on the boat, on the water, to be so close to Mother Nature. And I think this is also what we always have to keep in mind, that we come from nature and then we go back to nature. And maybe in this tiny little span of lifetime, we are kind of like forgettable about that. And this is why we as a racing team, we have this bigger campaign that we run based on sailing, based on education, on science. And we do a lot of activations also with our partners. And this is also why we have our panelists today here. We are organizing these panel debates in each stopover of the ocean race. This is number 2, so we skipped Cabo Verde because it was a little stopover, and we had already quite some activations there with the UN. But here we are today, and we would like to discuss the visionary mindset of people. So what drives us forward? What is the inspiration that we get from nature? And how to put that into practice, how to basically fulfill our dreams and put it into action, climate action. So we have invited a couple of fascinating representatives from NGOs, local NGOs and international NGOs, and entrepreneurs, climate entrepreneurs I would call them. And here we are, and I would like to start to introduce you, Danny Washington. Danny is very close also to Team Malizia. We have met each other first time in Alicante, the race start, and she's also very much involved with the Ocean Race because she's hosting the Ocean Race Summits. So warm welcome to you.
Hi everyone, good to see everybody. Thank you for coming. Do you want me to jump in or do we want to start with a question?
I think I'll just quickly do like the quick introduction to everyone. And to your right, we have Friedrich Daimann. He's the CEO and founder of Greenboats Technologies, an entrepreneur and startup based in Bremen. Then next to you, Friedrich, we have Greg Burtish. He's a local from Cape Town, and he runs the charity, an NGO called the founder of the Little Optimist Children Trust. And we have, last but not least, you, Benjamin Adrian. You're the founder of Viva Con Agua, and you're also based here in Cape Town. So a big applause, please, for our panelists. So now to you, Danny. We already see the slide. We had a little briefing about that, of course, and I was asking her whether it's okay to put up that picture. And I have to ask you, what is actually Mocker Mermaid?
Okay, well, hello again, everyone. My name is Danny. Thank you, Cornelius, for the introduction. So the picture you see here, I'll just start with this. This is my alter ego. She's called the Mocha Mermaid. And essentially, when I was a child growing up in Miami, Florida, I fell in love with the ocean at a very young age. And of course, when the film, The Little Mermaid, came out, the animated film, I was obsessed. I wanted to do whatever in my power to be able to become a mermaid and to be underwater as much as possible. And so I've taken that idea, that spark of imagination, and I've infused it into my career today, because I think the mythology and the unique thing about thinking about human beings living underwater, I mean, we've all been fascinated by that over human history. Every culture has some type of mermaid or ocean goddess mythology, and so taking that idea and that spark of inspiration, but also applying it to climate action and talking to people about the ocean and inviting people into that conversation. That's what's important to me, and especially as a woman of color. When I was growing up, I didn't see many women who looked like me underwater doing things like scuba diving and free diving and even sailing, and to be able to be a representative and to also inspire others to jump in the water, that's what I'm all about. And so in 2008, my mom and I, who just happens to be in the audience, hi Mom, right over there, she just flew in from Miami last night, we began a nonprofit called Big Blue and You, which focuses on engaging young people in ocean conservation using art, science, and media. And so in our Miami community, we produce events. One event called Artsy, which is so much fun, celebrating the ocean using art and science, and bringing scientists literally to this event to talk to kids about the ocean, but also working in tandem with local artists to convey the message of the ocean. ocean, because the ocean needs a voice. For most people, it's out of sight and it's out of mind, because either you don't live by the ocean or you don't step into the ocean, but it impacts every single human being on this planet. So our mission is truly to get the word out and to make sure that underserved and marginalized communities are also involved in ocean conservation.
Right, and as I mentioned at the beginning, that you're the host of the Ocean Race Summits. So can I ask you, what does the Ocean Race mean to you, and why is it such a great opportunity actually to highlight what you just described as a necessary need for us as human beings to engage with climate action and ocean preservation?
The Ocean Race means so much to me. I started working with the Ocean Race back in 2020, just by word of mouth. I heard about the event itself, the sporting event. I'm not a professional sailor. I have sailed before, but I do most of my work underwater. I love being underwater. So once I heard about the Ocean Race, I began hosting the summits that year. And our summits, the Ocean Race Summits, are an incredible event where we bring together policymakers, scientists, artists, youth activists, who all want to talk about the health of the ocean, but also the future of ocean rights. And so throughout the Ocean Race, this edition, as we travel around the world, at some of the stopovers, we've been hosting summits where we bring these folks together from each respective country and have this conversation. And our goal at the end of the race is to go to the United Nations in September of this year and present the idea for the adoption of a resolution for a universal declaration of ocean rights, meaning that we want to give the ocean the same rights that we have as human beings. We want to make sure that this living entity, which covers 70% of our planet, has a stand and a voice, once again, in whatever way we can build it up, and because we all depend on it. And so I'm very excited to be the host of the summits and to travel and meet all of these different leaders. Our last summit that we just had in Cabo Verde, we had the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He was a part of the summit, and it was incredible to see world leaders like him get involved. And we hope to continue to build up momentum. And you guys can all be involved as well. We have a petition that we need signatures for called the One Blue Voice campaign. And you go to onebluevoice.net and you can sign it. We're aiming for 50,000 signatures. We would love for everybody here today to get involved.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Danny. Really, let me turn to you. We already have quite a history between Green Boats and Team Malizia. But that's not going to be my first question. First of all, I would like to know, because you are a boat builder, how green is boat building today, and what makes Green Boats technologies actually so disruptive on that market?
So the main material used in the boating industry is based on petrochemical products like raw oil. We've got like a lot of synthetic materials. We've got glass fibers, carbon fibers. So a composite material where a boat is made from is actually quite amazing. Because you can build like really lightweight and amazing, strong, long-lasting products like a Imoca 60. But the issue is it's not from like regrowing or natural products. And what we do, we try to replace wherever it's possible the petrochemical materials with regrowing materials like flex fibers and different like natural fiber materials, and so we try to get the carbon footprint down of the product, and that's pretty much like all about the company Green Boats.
You just mentioned that quite some components of our boat, Malizia the Explorer, are produced by Green Boats. What kind of? And where are also the limits?
Pardon me? The last one?
Sorry. Where are also the limits of this product? Because these boats they have to be very seaworthy, and they go to the Southern Ocean where the sea state is very high. The winds are screaming, blowing constantly with like over 30 knots. So, are there any limits to that, or?
Yeah, sure. Like there are certain products you really can replace, where you really can replace 100% the carbon fiber. So we did like, this is one example that is a escape hatch of the Malizia 3. So stuff like that, it's quite easy to replace. We did 49 components on the Malizia 3, like the floor panels, escape hatch, a lot of covers, stuff. And the limits are, a race boat like the Malizia, we wouldn't be able to build like the foil or the foil cases and stuff like that. You wouldn't be able to do that like right now. You wouldn't be able to do that from linen fibers. That is actually one boat that we build like entirely from natural fibers. So, but on a race boat, you compete to carbon fiber products, and carbon fibers are just crazy in strength. But we are able to do like this day sailor, for example, or like the next bigger boat we're just building. It's a performance cruiser, like a 30-foot boat, and those boats we can build like entirely from natural fibers. But there are some limits for sure.
Okay. Because we're just looking at this fantastic picture, and we see you there busy sailing. How was it for you? Because you founded Green Boats, right? So you had something in mind to go beyond and basically like leave your comfort zone, run that startup and let it grow. And how was it for you when this product came actually into the water? How did it feel for you to sail the first time on that product that you have designed and built?
Yeah, it's quite an amazing feeling for a boat builder, like to build or to create your own product and to build and then see that the first time in water. It's like one of those goosebumps moments. On this one it's quite special because we really like concentrated or built that as environmentally friendly as possible, and we save around 80% CO2 by building that in this way. And we are still like 10% lighter as a glass fiber equivalent. And then for me, I really love boats, and I really like the shape of boats. And we concentrated on these like classic lines, and so that makes it even more special when you create like a beautiful product. And you know, okay, I did it. I built the whole product on my own or with my team. So.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Green Boats. Yeah, now we leave a little bit like the sailor's scenery, the sailor sports, and go into another sports, soccer. Benjamin, Benny, nice to have you with us today. You're a friend of Boris as well, of the team. We met here in Cape Town, and it was very fascinating to learn what you actually have created from another sport. So coming from soccer, a professional soccer player back in the days in Germany, and then it had to happen that you went to Cuba in 2006, right? And please walk us what happened there. What kind of was the result of this very specific, let's say, confrontation with water scarcity and water quality?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, you're right. I was a professional football player. This is quite some time ago, around maybe 19 years ago. It was 2005 actually, when we went to Cuba for a training camp, being the first professional football team from Germany going to Cuba for a training camp, because Fidel Castro was the boss back in the days, and so it was not so common that German football teams would go there. And we were there with FC St. Pauli. Maybe some of you know FC St. Pauli. Who knows FC St. Pauli? Yeah, Good stuff. So yeah, it's quite a special team in Germany. It's maybe the most political team you have in Germany. Right now they're playing in the 2nd division, yet they are the 4th most popular team in the German Bundesligas. So it is way more popular than successful on the pitch. Yeah? And that comes with their political attitude, with the connection they have with the music and the culture. It has a skull bone as a logo. I know there's another team on the planet who has a skull bone as a logo. Orlando Pirates, right? So I love to see the two of them meet one day. Maybe we can arrange that. Anyhow, so after that training camp in Cuba, it was not actually in Cuba when we started Viva Con Agua. It was after Cuba. It was a day, and I remember it in 2005 after the trains camp when it was cold in Germany. And in the mornings I decided to stop my football career. I was getting a world map, yeah, and I was like, all right, let me do a world tour. I stopped playing football, that's it. I do a world tour and I work for social projects. Yeah, talking about world tours. That was my decision on that very morning with that world map, right? In the same afternoon, the manager called me and said, listen, I want you to keep on playing. So next morning, I meet with him and he gave me this new contract. So within 24 hours, it was world tour, football contract. And it's like, wait a minute, what do I do now? So yeah, then I took myself some time, some weeks to think about it, and then we decided to combine the things a little bit, the social world tour and the football club, using that platform, that ecosystem of FC St. Pauli, of the city of Hamburg, and use that potential of the possibility to work together, to pull in so many resources, partners, agencies, companies, the fans, 30,000 people every game, stuff like that, and put it all together for a social cause. And because we're coming from Cuba, we said, all right, it will be a water project, drinking water for kindergartens in Cuba. That was the purpose from the beginning, and that's how everything started, basically. And then it was the people who drove it. I mean, from back in the days until now, it's 18 years, it's the people who drive Viva Con Agua, and with this vision, water for all and all for water, we are more tackling SDG number 6, right? Clean drinking water, sanitation and hygiene, but obviously it's also all about water. And yeah, and now, these last 18 years, we managed to support more than 4 million people with our partners together in the water projects. Cuba was only the start. We continued in different African countries, Ethiopia, Uganda since many years, South Africa now since 3 years, India, and so many other countries. And yeah, and now we look at an ecosystem which is very strong at the Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and a little bit some other European countries with so many volunteers, different business models, some social business companies. And now we are here in Cape Town, South Africa, since around 2.5 years. And if you look for us, you find us on Buitengracht. You just go up, basically it's halfway to Table Mountain from here. And when you are on Buitengracht, you just look for the art, the arty walls. That's where the blue Villa Viva is. This is the social hub. It's a social guest house, a social business guest house. So we have events, we connect so many different people from all walks of life in that place. And once you are sleeping on that place, then you also support water projects while you sleep, basically. So yeah, come by, check us out, and yeah. Okay, this is Ethiopia, and where we would, it's a long time ago, hey? And this is my friend Marcel Eger. He also was a former football player. He had his biggest moment for his last game for St. Pauli when he scored a goal against Bayern Munich. St. Pauli lost 1-8, but he was the one scoring. So that was his last game for St. Pauli. Yeah, well, great guy. And it's basically a joke, fun piece. So actually not supposed to be in, we don't use that for communications too much, hey? Because it actually makes a wrong impression. It's not us who are building the worlds. It's not us being the experts on the ground. It's really the communities themselves who are taking taking initiative, who are putting everything together what it needs to have a well like that. So this is basically just a fun picture.
Okay. Great, thank you so much. Now, Greg, it was a lovely day when we met, actually because you have, as an entrepreneur here in Cape Town, you were so kind to give us some life jackets. We rented them from you because we had a kids event. And we brought all the kids to our boat and gave them boat tours. And of course, we wanted to have them secure, so we need life jackets. And Greg, he's a local and he runs the Little Optimist Sailing Academy and the Children's Trust. And then I brought these life jackets back and we run into a nice conversation. And I stayed longer and longer, and even though I had tons of work, but I was really like down in that conversation with you because it was so fascinating, your personal experience and your biography and how you ended up basically founding the Little Optimist. And would you be so kind to share this very personal experience, how you founded the Little Optimist and like what was your personal development to this?
Thank you, Cornelius, and very nice to meet you, and welcome to the panel here to beautiful Cape Town. So proud and honored to have you here in Cape Town, and welcome to everyone here. So thank you. Yes, I found myself in the year 2001 in a bit of a scary situation. I'd been traveling in the tropics, surfing, kiteboarding, enjoying myself. And I came back I was actually very sick while I was there, and no one knew what it was. We thought it was malaria. It went away after a few days, and I got back to South Africa, and for 8 months, I was in and out of hospital with all sorts of strange symptoms. And eventually, they rushed me in at the age of 31 for emergency open heart surgery. I'd picked up a very rare, unnamed, undiagnosed tropical bacteria, and it attacked my heart valves. And my heart had swollen to 30% bigger than it was. It had eaten away my aortic valve, and I was literally my heart was about to explode, and I was rushed in. And my whole life changed. And that ended up, over the next 5 years, I ended up spending over 200 days in hospital. I had 2 open heart surgeries and 3 infections over that period. And while I was there lying, I think on the 2nd or 3rd time in the ICU, feeling very sorry for myself, being very, very sick, wires coming in and out all over my body, tubes everywhere, that terrible creepy crawly ventilator down my mouth. I couldn't speak. I lay there and I just thought, why me? Why me in this situation? I'm 31 years old. And I looked over to my left, and there was this tiny little baby. And the baby was 4 months old, and he had just had his first heart operation. And I went from feeling so sorry for myself to actually going, wow, I'm actually so lucky. I'm lucky to have got to 31 years old. I've had a whole life. This poor baby may never survive. And while I was lying there, I swore to myself that if I survived this, I would dedicate my life to helping children in less fortunate positions. And so when I did survive after many years and many trials and tribulations, I remembered this child, and I had spent so much time in hospital, in all the hospitals across Cape Town, and I met so many children who had nothing, they came from nothing, and the saddest thing was they had nothing to go back home to. So I had the ocean. I had this passion for the ocean, for sailing, for surfing, and I wanted to get out of my hospital bed, out of ICU. I wanted to survive to get back in the ocean. And I met all these children who had nothing to live for. So they didn't want to get out of hospital. And the sad reality is they had nothing to go back home to. They came from such terrible situations, broken homes, abusive homes, malnutrition, absent parents, gangsterism, alcoholism, drugs, that these children, almost when they started getting better, they didn't want to go home. And that was a catalyst for me starting the Little Optimist Trust and going, you know what? If we can find something to help these kids find a passion to get out of hospital, then that would change everything. So we actually started upgrading and renovating hospitals and clinics first. Painted in 2016-17, we raised 1.5 million rand and painted the whole of the Red Cross Children's Hospital. And since then, we've painted and renovated 7 other hospitals, clinics, and schools since then. And now we've got this amazing sailing therapy academy in the waterfront here, where we bring children out of the most marginalized areas, and we give them an opportunity to go sailing and find a passion to live for. And also, at the same time, we introduce ocean health and why it's important and why it's important to look after our planet, because these kids know nothing of the ocean. They've got no connection and no love for the ocean because they've never been in it. And once we plant those seeds, it's so much easier then to talk about plastic pollution and sustainability.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing these very personal also experiences. And you're also like a book publisher, so we see it here, one of your books. I think you have published 2 books, right?
Yeah, two little children's books, and they're all about, if those of you who don't know, there's some of the great sailors here. In fact, some of the skippers and crews all came and sailed with us. And some of those amazing world-class sailors on those crazy machine boats actually learned to sail in a little boat like that called an Optimist. And it's the most amazing little boat, and I keep joking with them, it's much better than their big boats. It's got a huge heart, but it's a small, short, fat, very slow little boat that shouldn't be a boat. But it's got a massive heart, and he believes he can do anything, just like a small child or someone in a tough situation.
Right. And an optimist, this is, by the way, this is the explanation of an optimist boat, right? So every sailor becomes professional. I'm sure also Boris did that at the beginning. You learn sailing on these kind of boats. And it's kind of scary, you know, like when you first, you know, touch water with these boats, quite wobbly, sometimes you capsize. So it's quite, you know, it takes some courage. And maybe one follow-up question to you, because you sailed around the Cape, 200, what is it, like 200K? Almost. How was it for you, like when you first touched water, when you went out of this comfort zone, you made a promise to your dad, you told me that, and you sailed around the Cape of Storms, I think that's what you said, you mentioned it. How was it for you, like leaving your comfort zone and following your vision, being alone out there in the water, surrounded by these high waves?
Look, to answer that question is that when you've grown up in the ocean and you love it so much, there is fear and there's respect, but you love it so much. So being out there, it's sort of a natural feeling. Sometimes it's better than being on land. The reason I did it was that when I met that small baby, I remembered a childhood dream, and unfortunately all of us as adults, we forget our childhood dreams often and we don't follow them. And I remember saying to my father, I would sail my little Optimist from Cape Town to Longabon when I was 12 years old. But as I grew older, I forgot that dream. And I had been an insecure, bullied child when I had a very sad sort of personal upbringing. And my little Optimist boat, that little short, square, fat, slow boat that all the other boats laughed at and didn't think was a real boat, I saw myself in that. So I used to sail my little Optimist. And that was the reason I took that boat after I'd had 2 open heart surgeries. I was a middle-aged man in a children's boat, and I took a children's boat that shouldn't go in a real ocean, and I sailed it the 200 kilometers from Cape Hunklip around children and kids, that a little person could do amazing things. All you need is a big heart and follow your dreams. And I wasn't trying to be the first. I wasn't trying to be some great adventurer. I wasn't trying to get there faster than anyone. I just wanted to follow the dream I'd promised my father, but also prove to kids, especially in hospitals, especially from the marginalized situations in the townships, that doesn't matter where you come from, how small, what color, how much money you've got, you can do anything.
I also would like to mention the downsides. You know, have you ever felt sort of like doubts where you sometimes maybe disencouraged by your mission, by your vision, by your thoughts? Were there any, like, let's say, clouds in the blue sky where you thought like, I'm maybe on the wrong track, maybe I should do something else, maybe I should go back to school, or back to my old job in the office, do something else, do something meaningful. At least this is my mom telling me all the time, now working for a sailing team. Danny, how was it for you?
I think, you know, working for an NGO, starting an NGO is a difficult journey because of the funding issues that we have to face. It's really about grants, at least in the US. That's what we have to raise funds through, and private donors. So it's a constant grind where you're constantly having to communicate your mission, get to the right people, find the right grants, which have extensive applications and long wait periods. So it requires so much patience and perseverance. And so working with my mom as well, you know, to create Big Blue and You has been a test of our bond, a test of who we are, and it's made us stronger. But it's not an easy road, you know. It's a journey of passion and purpose. And so the other thing is working with other nonprofits and finding new ways to collaborate. That really is a true catalyst to help you overcome some of those hurdles, because many of these NGOs in the world are doing similar work and on similar missions, but yet working in silos. And that has to change. We need to do more collaborative work, create new projects together, and the more that we build that momentum, the more impact we'll make. So as an entrepreneur with purpose through an NGO, it really takes focus and drive, and anyone can do that, but we need more people involved for sure in all of our different missions.
Yeah, so you would say like a little bit of utopia is necessary, yeah?
Absolutely.
Nice. So maybe like moving to you, Friedrich, to the corporate world, like running a business, like more like, you know, the B2B side of things. How was it, like, was there any, like, you know, I remember like listening to a professor walking you through like entrepreneurship and like a startup and the different steps that you take to build up a business. You have like this valley of death, you know, where you have a lack of funding, where you do not know the future, you may not be able to pay your employees. Have you experienced this kind of situation where you say like, maybe if we are not coming out of this like storm, then I have to pull back into the port?
Yeah, sure. There are these moments. I think when I actually started, I started in 2009, just like exploring all these different materials and tried to find a way to replace these glass fiber materials. And for sure, I think you need somehow like a craziness about you are doing, and yeah, you need to be really like focusing in your like in your dream. And we had these moments where we just didn't have any money, and we wanted to build a 7-meter sailing boat, because everyone we talked to, they really liked the idea, but like in 2008, as example, we just we didn't have enough money to buy these materials to build this boat, so we just asked for really long payment terms at our like supplier, and so we built like in 2 months we built this whole boat, and luckily we sold it on an exhibition, and if not, we were just gone.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
bankrupt.
Wow. Yeah. So it is quite a gambling, huh? Like, sure. But yeah, but you had the courage to like pull through, and optimism wins, right? There was a famous German politician, actually. Sorry, I have to mention this because I studied political science. But he said, he was a German chancellor, Helmut Schmidt, and he said, if you have visions, you should go to a doctor. And I totally disagree. Sorry, but he's, by the way, from Hamburg. But this can't be true. And I think you're the best example that if you have visions, just stick to your dreams, stick to your visions. And then were you haunted by in your dreams that you want to go back?
No. Well, I stopped playing soccer in 2007. And then, I stayed in Hamburg for quite some time. After I stopped football, I left it really behind. Like, then also I didn't play so much because you played professional, and I was still young, quite young. I was 26 or something like that. So when I then finally stopped, And what I realized is then sometimes, because you're used to play, you're used to do that thing all the time, right? And now all of a sudden you don't do it anymore. So I didn't regret to stop it, because I was immediately engaged in Viva Con Agua. But I had, talking about dreams, I had a very interesting thing that sometimes I was just playing soccer while sleeping. So somehow my body kept on playing soccer even though I was sleeping, because, you know, when I was awake I didn't play so much soccer like before. That was an interesting one. It stopped after some time. But yeah, that was interesting. But it was not so much regret, because...
Sorry, did you strike a goal in your dream? Did you?
Always. Yeah, so... yeah, no, but in general, I didn't regret it. I was lucky. I think it's not so easy for professional sports people once they leave their professional sport and then they need to check what they're actually doing with their lives. I mean, there are a lot of them, they try to stay in football, they try to get coached, or they try to do something else, and some of them get lucky, but most of them doesn't. So I think if you don't have something purposeful after being a professional sportsman or woman, whatever you do, it's actually not so easy. And I was lucky because I was immediately, I mean, I stopped because of Viva Con Agua. I could have continued, but I was like, no, wait a minute. This starting Viva Con Agua thing is so, I mean, it's such a joy. It's so joyful. It's fun. You know, because we always made it fun, and we still do. We always say, listen, you know, talking not about non-profit, but about all profit. Why cannot everybody benefit while we do good? You know what I'm saying? So it does not need to be connected with a bad feeling or coming from a strange place like that, but you can connect it with music, with sports, with arts. You can do it in a joyful way, and that's what we do. And I was 26 when I started it, so. Actually, yeah, we always connected it with things that we like, yeah, and we still try to do that. I mean, if somebody wants to support Viva Con Agua, it's like, all right, what can you do, and what is your passion, what do you like, and maybe we can connect that to the projects. Even if you go to the Eastern Cape, where a few of our projects are, or if you go to Claremont, where we have a mobile trailer for homeless people to wash themselves, or if we, it's super colorful. It's connected to arts. You know, there is a wash hero connected to it. It's called Nina Manzi, Mother Water in Kosa, and. So if you go to the Eastern Cape, same thing. When we have workshops with kids, we do Walls for Water, where they paint their schools in colorful ways. Yeah, lessons or these workshops with the kids, always in a joyful way, and use positive emotions to change behavior. There are other ways. Other NGOs are doing it more with shame and guilt. You know, it also works. You know, if I shame you, you're gonna change your behavior. It's very powerful, but we don't want to use. And then also get yourself some time to be a little bit more detached, you know, in a way. Even detach you also, because otherwise you burn. If you love something so much and you're doing it, it has a purpose, and you're doing it with friends, you also have to protect yourself, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And last but not least, it's a marathon. And last but not least, I could never, I just cannot be motivated in a normal job, which is, you know, just making my pockets full of money, but destroying the planets and somehow leaving everybody who's connected with that business, you know, sad. You know what I mean? That 1 year, we tried to make that bar happen very poorly, and I realized, okay, but how do I motivate myself? It's like, yeah, it's a nice bar, but at the end, you know, it was only some private shareholders like us, and it was at the end, it's just about my pockets. And I was not able to motivate myself. I found that so interesting. So yeah, therefore, in Viva Con Agua, I have no shares whatsoever, and it's way easier for me to motivate myself for a higher purpose like that.
Great, thank you. Yeah. I know you're active in over 50 countries, right? Viva Con Agua? Like how many?
50. That would be crazy. Not yet. No, I think...
Let's be ambitious.
Yes, no, maybe projects in around... since the beginning, we have like around roughly 20 countries where we were supporting projects. Now, Viva Con Agua organizations itself is in 6 now. But slowly, actually 7, yeah. So it's...
Already, yeah. Let's be ambitious. Greg, how was it for you? Were there any obstacles that you have faced here to set up your NGO and the Sailing Academy, and like also in terms of also motivating people to engage and getting funding, for example?
Yeah, I mean, like Danny and Benny know, being in the NGO space, it comes with such challenges. And it's passion and your purpose that drives it. And it often takes one or two people to have that, to carry on beyond those circumstances where most people would give up. Obviously, especially in under-resourced places like South Africa, a lot of Africa, Cuba, South America, it's even harder because to raise money and to sell your dream is very hard, especially to larger companies, global companies, first world companies. You have to educate them first and get them to believe in not only what you're doing, but your dream. And that's where Team Malizia, for instance, is very good. And, you know, that kind of thing we are so thankful for, just to have a platform like this for what you support, the sustainable businesses, the NGOs. That is huge. So that is a challenge, to educate and sell the dream and your project to a larger company or a body to give you the money or to sponsor something. And then for us in these under-resourced areas, the other thing is back to education. And we take sustainability and plastic pollution, for instance. It is so hard for us, and I think Benny mentioned it earlier, it is so hard for us to try and tell kids who come from rural areas where they have almost nothing to worry about plastic, because they are living hand to mouth day by day. They've never seen a metal canister in their lives. They barely see glass. All that they are given by the world in these places is plastic. All the foodstuffs, all the drinks come in plastic. And that is the hardest thing. And for us to then walk in there, you can have the most money that you wanted, you can have the biggest PR vibe, you can go in there and give them free stuff. But to change their mindset, when they don't even know, when you say, yes, that straw is going to end up in the ocean and kill a turtle. We have that all the time. We show a kid, and this is here in Cape Town where we do have turtles. We show a kid who lives 5 miles from here. We show them a turtle, and they look at it, and they go, a tortoise that swims? They don't even know what a turtle is. They have no affiliation with the ocean. They have no love for the ocean. So you can't teach them to protect it until they love it. And I think that's the catch. And that's where we've got so much work to do. All those rural, you know, and that's where, obviously, that's where a lot of the plastic comes from. It's coming from down the rivers, you know, whether it's Indonesia or Asia or South America, even Europe a little bit, but the less educated, the under-resourced, they're living hand to mouth. And you have to then bring them into, like, our academy. We have to write books like our Little Optimist book. I've just written one called The Little Optimist and the Sea Monster. And the sea monster is actually plastic. It's not for children, they think it's a monster when they start reading the book, but then they realize that it's actually a plastic monster that bursts into 1,000 bits and damages the ocean. And it teaches them what to do. It doesn't say no to plastic, because we can't say that. They have no choice. But it teaches them to love the ocean and how to think about plastic and reuse it and repurpose it. And our books are printed in 3 African languages, because that's the problem as well. You can go in and give kids flyers and information in, let's say, English, but if they're not getting it in their mother tongue, sometimes, you know, the education level is so low, you've got to give it to them in their home language. And that's what we try and do, and we might only make a small dent, but we can make a dent. And like Danny said, if we can collaborate, and instead of working against each other, if we can all come together, I'd like your business card and yours, please. If we can all come together and work together across the world, and we can reach more children, because children are the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's also what we are building on with our education program, our Malizia My Ocean Challenge. Thank you so much. I have one last question to the panel, because we're running out of time, but I really have to ask this question, and also this is a message that should go out to the world, to the audience. We all have dreams, we all have visions, we all have a certain projection of our life. And from your experience, what would be your advice to these people having and carrying around the vision, but not having maybe the opportunity, or maybe not the courage even to execute their vision and to start running their own business, start running their own NGO, to fight climate change, or to fight any other problem that we face. What would be your advice? Please reduce that to a couple of sentences. Let's start with, maybe with you, Benny, please.
Okay, well, I think we don't need, we can't be too over-romantic and say, well, you know, everybody can do whatever they, and it's somehow true and it's somehow not true, right? Because you have different circumstances and sometimes they don't come together. So and maybe it's also not necessary for everybody to start a global movement, you know, like Greta Thunberg did or whatever. Not everybody can be Greta Thunberg. But I think it's always even useful to do something small and to start small. And maybe sometimes out of something small, something big can arise. But even if nothing big arises, if many people are starting something small, it is big. So I think that's the thing. The art, especially in these days now, is to still believe that it is possible and it is useful if I do something, and not resignate or, you know, just be sad and think about I can't do anything, and or if they are not doing it, I'm not doing it, but really believe it's possible and just do something small, and that will inspire others, inspire something big.
Thank you. Danny.
I would say first, it would be cultivate your own connection to nature. So focusing on how are you building your relationship with the world around you and how are you understanding it. And secondly, it would be to use what you have and start where you are. Don't worry about how much money you have, how many resources you have. Look at your own community right in front of you and how you can impact with your gifts and your talents, because no one has existed before you who is just like you, and no one will ever exist just like you with your select gifts and talents. So use them and to benefit the world.
Thank you. Friedrich.
So I would say you just go for your idea, like follow your idea. Don't stay too much like alone and inside with your idea. Like go out, try, change something, and then we will find your direction, I would say.
Great.
Yeah, you can see the consistency here. I think humans, all of us, are essentially good. And I think we all have something to give. Some of us have money, some of us have time, some of us have a skill. And if you can find one of those that you have to donate your time, your skill, or your money to an NGO, to an organization that's doing good for people, the planet, or animals, that's what you need to do.
Thank you so much. That was a nice conclusion. Applause. So nothing to add, and there are just a couple of hours to go. The ocean race starts. Taking off tomorrow noonish. And I would like to thank everyone here for attending this conference. A special thanks to our panelists here, to the tech guys, and to my team fellows here setting this all up. Thank you very much, and see you soon in Brazil. Yes.